MSW Media.
News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Thursday, October 16th, 2025. Today, dozens of Pentagon reporters have turned in their access badges and exited the Pentagon. Brown University has rejected Trump's extortion bid. A federal judge has blocked Trump's federal layoffs. A different federal judge has issued a restraining order against Republican Representative Cory Mills. Los Angeles County has declared a state of emergency over immigration raids. Young Republicans are losing their jobs over racist chat groups. One person is dead and two are missing in devastating floods in Alaska. And Mike Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries will debate on C-SPAN. I'm Allison Gill.
And I'm Dana Goldberg.
Hello. Happy Thursday, my friend.
Happy Thursday to you. We are getting through this week. As you're listening to this, I'm flying to Minnesota. I'm just going in a day early. I've got an HRC gala on Saturday. I have no doubt I'll be involved somehow in the No Kings because we're downtown hotel somewhere. So yeah, this is going to be a big fucking weekend, but I'll be working in Minnesota and raising money. But one of the special guests is Tim Walz. So I should get to meet the governor, and Representative Angie Craig, I believe, is going to be there as well. So it should be a fantastic dinner.
Well, please tell Tim. And if you get to meet his kids, tell them I say hello too. They don't know who I am, but just say.
I definitely will.
Just be like, Allison says hi.
You know.
Allison. That's fantastic. Minneapolis is one of my favorite towns in the whole country. You're going to love it there. It's so fantastic. And I hope you have a wonderful time.
Thank you. I'm excited.
All right. No Kings 2 is this Saturday. I'll be speaking to San Diego. You'll be in Minneapolis, and everybody be careful. I've just put up a couple of videos, one on my Substack at MillerSheWrote.com, identical video shared to the MSW Media YouTube channel. It's tips and tricks for how to be around large groups of people, especially if you're like me and you don't like to be around large groups of people, or you have anxiety, or if you're an introvert, or, I have PTS. So just a little 4-minute video on how to prep yourself and then give yourself time after, and what to do while you're there, and maybe to help mitigate some of that anxiety that can well up when you're around large groups of people. So
absolutely. I love that. I love that you're doing that for all the introverts being extroverted for democracy.
Yeah. One of my favorite signs is this is so fucked up that even the introverts are here. And I'm my people. Later in the show, I'm going to be joined by co-executive director of Indivisible to talk about No Kings 2, Leah Greenberg. And one little bit of info that I can share that you'll hear in the interview. For No Kings 1 in June, there were 2,100 events planned, and they already have 2,500 events planned. It's
amazing.
Already going to be just massive. So we're going to set records. We did with No Kings 1. This one will set records too. So stick around for that interview. And just over a week ago, Wednesday, a week ago on The Beans, we reported from the New York Times that Michael Ellis had installed himself as the CIA's top lawyer, general counsel. And he made himself general counsel. And Michael Ellis was the guy who took the transcript of the perfect phone call to Zelensky and hid it in a code word classified system so nobody would see it.
Yes.
He was a Nunes guy, when Nunes did his Uber midnight ride to the Capitol or whatever. He was installed at the NSA last minute, and that was investigated, and he was pulled for mishandling classified documents. Just an all-around shithead, this guy. And no one was really reporting on it, but we reported it here on The Beans. And we also shared reporting from our friend Natasha Bertrand that the CIA was looking to expand into Venezuelan cartel covert ops, but couldn't get the green light. And so I said the following. Let's listen to this clip from, this is one of the best episode titles. It's Kimmel Rankles Cankles is the name of the episode. And here's what I had to say about it. Let's listen to this clip. So why would Ellis, this dickhead, need to install himself as the CIA general counsel? Well, I'm guessing here, but Trump probably needs the CIA's top lawyer to sign off on something legally dubious.
Yeah, that seems right.
All right, so legally dubious shit, right? Well, it turns out the New York Times is reporting today the Trump administration has secretly authorized the CIA to conduct covert action in Venezuela. Just like we thought. Stepping up a campaign against Maduro. This allows Trump to carry out these ops without approval of Congress. The new authority would allow the CIA to carry out lethal operations in Venezuela and conduct a range of operations in the Caribbean. So he's starting a war, you guys. He's wagging the dog, and it's freaking me out. And it was freaking me out last week. So I don't mean to freak all y'all out, but I just wanted you to be aware, because this is really flying under the radar, that Michael Ellis installed himself, wrote a memo, greenlighting covert ops in Venezuela without the authorization of Congress.
I want to say unbelievable, but it's believable.
It's totally believable. Anyway, and that's like, CIA is like, the stuff that no one else will do, like waterboarding, and like it's not good.
Yeah.
All right. We have a lot of news to get to today. Let's hit the hot notes.
Hot notes.
All right, first up from the Associated Press, dozens of reporters turned in access badges and exited the Pentagon Wednesday rather than agree to government-imposed restrictions on their work, pushing journalists who cover the American military further from the seat of its power. The nation's leadership called the new rules common sense to help regulate very disruptive press people. Like they tell on us when we do illegal stuff.
Yeah.
Get them out of here. News outlets were nearly unanimous, as we talked about yesterday, in rejecting new rules imposed by Pete Hegseth that would leave journalists vulnerable to expulsion if they sought to report on information, classified or otherwise, that had not been approved by Hegseth himself for release. Many of the reporters waited to leave together at 4 p.m. I love this. That was the deadline set by the Defense Department to get out of the building. As the hour approached, boxes of documents lined a Pentagon corridor, and reporters carried chairs, a copying machine, books, and old photos to the parking lot from suddenly abandoned workspaces. Shortly after 4, about 40 to 50 journalists left together after handing in their badges.
Wow.
Pentagon Press Association, whose 101 members represent 56 news outlets, had spoken out against the rules. Organizations from across the media spectrum, from legacy organizations like the Associated Press and the New York Times to conservative outlets like Fox and Newsmax. So Fox was on the fence, but they aren't doing it. They left too. They told their reporters to leave instead of signing the new rules. Only One America News Network signed it.
No, of course.
Its management likely believes it will have greater access to the Trump administration by showing support. That's according to Gabrielle Cuccia, a former Pentagon reporter who was fired by OANN earlier this year for writing an online column criticizing Hegseth's media policies. That's what she told the Associated Press in an interview. So anyway, that's all that's left. OANN and Tim Pool and probably a couple Russians.
I am glad everyone band together for that. All right. This one is from The Times. Brown University on Wednesday rejected White House proposal to steer public money towards schools that aligned with Trump's priorities, defying the federal government it had negotiated with over the summer. Brown was the second university to rebuff the government's proposal of so-called compact after MIT did it last week. But Brown's decision was likely to carry extraordinary weight in higher education because it had previously reached a settlement with the Trump administration to restore hundreds of millions of dollars in federal research funding. And I quote, "I'm concerned that the compact by its nature and by various provisions would restrict academic freedom and undermine the autonomy of Brown's governance, critically compromising our ability to fulfill our mission." All right. This is from the university's president, Christina Paxson. That's what she told the Trump administration officials in a letter on Wednesday. It was a Dear John letter. So far, only the University of Texas system has publicly indicated support of the administration's proposal. Dartmouth College, the University of Arizona, the University of Pennsylvania, the University of Southern California, the University of Virginia, and Vanderbilt University have said little about their views. So we're going to see what's happening there.
Yeah. So good job, Brown. Thank you. And next up from the Post, a federal judge temporarily blocked the Trump administration's plans to lay off thousands of federal workers during the shutdown, which they were doing anyway, but now they're blaming the shutdown, siding with the unions that sued, which have argued the dismissals were illegal. Senior U.S. District Judge Susan Ilston said Wednesday that the administration has to halt the layoffs less than a week after 8 agencies, Commerce, Education, Energy, EPA, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development, Homeland Security, and Treasury, had issued reduction in force notices to more than 4,100 workers. About half the firings at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention were later reversed, but administration officials and Trump have promised further cuts, blaming Democrats, of course, for not agreeing to pass legislation to fund the government, legislation that doesn't need a single Democratic vote because the Senate Republicans can just change the rules to a simple majority. The government has argued that agencies have broad authorities to reorganize workforces to conform to the president's priorities. But the Union for Federal Workers argued that the layoffs were improperly handled, politically motivated, and based on a false premise that the shutdown allows the government not to continue its statutory requirements.
Oh, boy.
They're like, the government is shut down, so laws don't exist anymore?
Yeah, apparently.
Okay. The law is shut down. I've shut down the law. That's probably the thinking, right?
Yeah.
They've also argued that the government's use of RIFs, an extensive process requiring promised severance payments during the shutdown, would break the Anti-Deficiency Act rules. And that forbids the government from obligating or expending any money not appropriated by Congress. Trump administration officials have privately cautioned against proceeding with the RIFs because of that law, but they're doing it anyway. In a court hearing on the union's motion for a temporary restraining order, Judge Ilston said Wednesday the administration had appeared not to follow the law when doing the RIFs. She also raised concerns about the errors the government has made, initially giving inaccurate estimates about how many people were given RIF notices at some agencies. She ordered the government to provide details about their planned RIFs within 2 days. Quote, the evidence suggests that the Office of Management and Budget, that's the Russ vote joint, and the Office of Personnel Management have taken advantage of the lapse in government spending, in government functioning, to assume all bets are off and the laws don't apply to them anymore. That's what she said.
All right.
Yay.
Yay, indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Allison. This one's from CBS. One person was dead and 2 are missing in western Alaska on Monday after the remnants of Typhoon, is it Halong?
I think so.
Halong brought hurricane-force winds and ravaging storm surges and floodwaters over the weekend that swept some homes away. This is all from the authorities. More than 50 people have been rescued, some plucked from the rooftops. Officials warned for a long road to recovery and a need for continued support for the hardest hit communities, with winter just around the corner. A U.S. Coastal Guard official, Captain Christopher Culpepper, described the situation in the villages of Kitnuk and Quilligok. I hope
Quilligok, I think.
Yeah, Quilligok as absolute devastation. Alaska State Troopers said at least 51 people and 2 dogs were rescued from both of those areas after the storm systems wall up the communities. Both areas saw significant storm surge. That's according to National Weather Service. Troopers said it and several other agencies were searching by boat and from air for the missing people. Troopers said that they also sent a helicopter from Fairbanks to add in the search and deliver generators and fuel to the communities that were ravaged. This is a horrible storm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of my love and heart and support goes out to our friends in Alaska.
Yeah.
All right, next up from Politico, 2 more members of a young Republican group chat strewn with racist epithets and hateful jokes stepped down from their jobs Tuesday after Politico published an exclusive report on Telegram exchanges. Peter Giunta's time working with the New York Assembly member Mike Riley has ended, the Republican lawmaker said. Giunta served as a chair of the New York State Young Republicans when the chat took place. Joseph Maligno, who previously identified himself as general counsel for that group, is also no longer an employee of the New York State Unified Court Systems. That's according to a court spokesperson. Another chat member, Vermont State Senator Sam Douglas, faced mounting calls for his resignation as well, including from the state governor, Phil Scott, a Republican, and Douglas's fellow Republican lawmakers who called his statements deeply disturbing. Politico's in-depth look into how one group of young Republicans spoke privately was met Tuesday with widespread condemnation in New York, Washington, and beyond. The members of that chat, 2,900 pages of which were leaked and reviewed by Politico, called, and content warning, Black people monkeys, repeatedly used slurs for gay, Black, Latino, and Asian people, and jokingly celebrated Adolf Hitler. Jokingly? Really? Now, J.V. Dance says it's just boys being boys. Right? He said that on the Charlie Kirk show. I guess they've taken over Charlie Kirk's listeners and just throw people in there to host the show.
His response was disgusting, by the way.
It was absolutely horrific. And by the way, Boys Being Boys College, a lot of these dudes these are grown-ass men. A lot of them are in their 40s. They're working in, they're trying to say, oh, this is just kids.
It was such a Brock Turner response J.D. Vance that gave. He was like, oh, these, shouldn't let this, damage the rest of their lives. They're just kids. 21. Some of them are 40 years old. Get out of here with this shit.
Yeah. Now, the fallout over the Telegram group chat comes after two others in the slur-laced private exchanges saw their job statuses change. Change is a nice way of saying they were fucking fired. Before the article even published. William Hendricks, the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair at the time of the chat, is no longer employed at Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach's office. Bobby Walker, who was chair of the New York State Republicans as of Tuesday, will not be brought onto New York congressional candidate Peter Oberacher's campaign as originally planned. And in a related U.S. story, Dana, U.S. Capitol Police were called about an American flag altered to include a swastika in the middle of it and displayed inside the office of Republican Representative Dave Taylor of Ohio. Politico obtained the image taken during a virtual meeting that shows the flag pinned to what appears to be a cubicle wall behind Angelo Alia, one of Taylor's staffers. Alongside the flag, with altered red and white lines in the shape of a swastika, are pinned images, including a pocket constitution and a congressional calendar. It's unclear what role, if any, Alia had in the incident. He didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. So just an American flag with a swastika on it in a Republican congressman staffer's cubicle. No big
deal. Oh, boy. Okay, this one's from ABC. Los Angeles County officials voted Tuesday to declare a state of emergency over ongoing federal immigration raids. The proclamation gives the county the power to assist residents that they say have been impacted financially by immigration and customs and action because of these ICE raids. The declaration was introduced by county supervisors Lindsay Harbaugh and Janice Hahn and passed by a 4-1 vote with Supervisor Catherine Barger opposing. Rent relief for tenants who have fallen behind as a result of ICE raids and money for legal aid and other services are among the provisions in the declaration. The vote on Tuesday allows county supervisors to mobilize resources, request state and federal financial assistance to respond to the impacts of the raids, and expedite contracting to address the crisis. This is a quote, "What's happening in our community is an emergency, and Los Angeles County is treating it like one." That's from Horvath in a press release. Declaring a local emergency ensures the full weight of the county government is aligned to support our immigrant communities that are being targeted by federal actions. The emergency declaration, by the way, is going to remain into effect until terminated by the board.
Excellent. Good. This is good. Lots of resources. We're probably not going to get any federal funding, but
right.
I'm glad they're doing this. All right, next up from Politico. A North Florida judge has issued a restraining order against Rep Cory Mills after the Central Florida Republican was accused by a former girlfriend of threatening to circulate sexually explicit videos of her. Circuit Judge Fred Koberlein ordered Mills to refrain from trying to contact Lindsay Langston, Miss United States 2024, and a Republican state committee woman from Columbia County. In his Tuesday order, the judge said the evidence supported Langston's assertion that Mills had caused her substantial emotional distress and that Mills offered no credible rebuttal to her testimony. He found that Langston had a reasonable cause to believe she's in imminent danger of becoming the victim of another act of dating violence without the restraining order being put in place. Koberlein said Mills was not allowed to go to Langston's home or place of employment, and that he's not allowed to directly refer to Langston on social media. The injunction is in place for the state of Florida. Mills did not immediately respond to requests for comment. In his order, which remains in place until January of 2026, Koberlein also refuted Mills' attempts to explain away his actions. Quote, "The court is considering the totality of the testimony and circumstances and does not find Mills' testimony concerning the intimate videos to be truthful." That's what the judge said, and went on to say, even had the respondent's testimony been truthful, his response is irrelevant because there was no evidence presented suggesting Langston knew the respondent no longer had possession of their intimate videos. During the first hearing, there were 2 hearings for this. And during the first one in early September, Langston spent extensive time on the stand explaining how scared she was of the 45-year-old Cory Mills. She described him as powerful and wealthy and a member of Congress who first became involved with her in late 2021. And the second hearing focused on testimony from Mills, with particular focus on whether he had a sex video that he planned to release. He maintained that while Langston had sent him intimate videos, he no longer had access to them because his phone was damaged and had to be replaced. Mills maintained the videos he mentioned to Langston were those of her baking and wanted to show any potential boyfriend of hers that the two of them had an ongoing relationship. Now, Mills also contended another message he sent where he suggested a future boyfriend would need to strap up cowboy was not a threat of violence. Instead, it's a rodeo term meant to suggest a wild ride was about to happen.
They're so gross. He's so gross.
I can't.
I know.
I'm so glad she got this restraining order. I'm surprised it's only until January 2026. Although
Me too.
sometimes, like, I can speak from experience, when you get a restraining order and the person you're trying to get the restraining order against keeps delaying and getting a new lawyer and delaying and filing other things and then having a hearing and then taking forever and then having another hearing.
Yeah.
She might have filed for this in January of this year.
True.
And so it's a 1-year restraining order, but because it's October, now she can reapply in January, like I did, and get a more permanent, like 5-year. I know in California we have 5-year restraining orders, which I was granted. But all of this is just disgusting bullshit. And Cory Mills should resign from Congress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Last in these hot notes. This is from Politico. Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, they're going to jointly debate on C-SPAN. Okay. This is what the network announced on Wednesday.
This might be your chance, by the way. I think we sell C-SPAN and chill t-shirts at the dailybeanspod.com store. This might be a good time to pick up your C-SPAN and chill t-shirt.
Perfect. The debate is set to take place on the ceasefire program, hosted by Politico White House Bureau Chief and Chief Playbook Correspondent Dasha Burns. Now, the move comes as the two House leaders trade daily barbs over the government shutdown with little direct communication between the two. It's unclear if the debate will happen during the government shutdown. Okay, this is C-SPAN said the date is to be announced. Jeffries pushed Johnson last week to engage in a floor debate while the House remains out of session, an invitation Johnson rebuffed. Johnson then agreed to an appearance with Jeffries later in the week when it appeared on C-SPAN to take live caller questions. So I
bet he chickens out.
Oh, yeah, I would not be surprised. And this whole thing is just disgusting. Open the fucking government, swear in the 218th vote on the Epstein files release, and let's keep on moving with this. He's such a coward and a stonewaller.
Oh yeah, he's a giant pile of shit, and he's still on. And I think somebody, one of the reps, Republican reps, McLean, today is still on the thing that they're actually arguing against emergency care and emergency rooms for non-citizens. That's still their stance. And what I wish, Dana, is that the reporter, like if she says that, oh, I can't believe we're giving emergency care to non-citizens in emergency rooms. My question as a reporter to her would be, what if you were in France and got hit by a car?
Yeah.
And went to the emergency room and the French said, oh, well, they're a non-citizen. We don't have to give them care.
Great question. Absolutely. That would be a great question.
Is that what you're advocating for? And then she says it's a terrible Democrat policy. And no, it's not. It's a law called EMTALA. And it was signed by
Reagan.
I guess infamous Democrat Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Oh, these people. I can't.
I know.
No Kings is Saturday. I'm going to get it all out.
Do it.
No Kings on Saturday. All right, everybody. Your good trouble is going to be first up in the good news. But next, we're going to talk to the co-executive director of Indivisible about No Kings 2. Her name is Leah Greenberg. Stick around. We'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by IQBAR, our exclusive snack and hydration sponsor. IQBAR is the better-for-you plant protein-based snack made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without the sugar crash. And right now, IQBAR is offering you an exclusive deal. 20% off all IQBAR products, plus free shipping. Just text Daily Beans to 64,000. So if you're new to IQBAR, the Ultimate Sampler Pack is the best way to get started. It has 9 protein bars, 8 hydration sticks, 4 mushroom coffees, all crafted with quality ingredients to support mental focus and physical health. Every IQBAR product is gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, non-GMO, and made without artificial sweeteners. Instead, they're powered by magnesium, which really has helped my sleep. It's got lion's mane and adaptogens that keep you sharp and steady all day. IQBAR's protein bars is a smarter snack option, packed with fiber and flavor, but low in sugar and carbs. I keep one in my gym bag. I keep a couple in my nightstand. And IQ Mix delivers electrolytes and mood-boosting minerals without sugar. And IQ Joe, those are coffee blends that give you 200 milligrams of smooth, sustained energy. And my morning with IQ Joe toasted hazelnut is amazing. Then I get a mint chocolate chip bar between meetings. And then I sip an IQ Mix blueberry pomegranate after the gym. The difference in my focus and energy is real. More people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQBAR's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their ultimate sampler pack, like I said, it's the way to go. It includes all three. It's clean, effective, and made for people who want to feel as good as they perform. Right now, IQBAR is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQBAR products, including their sampler pack. Plus, you get free shipping. To get your 20% off, just text Daily Beans, all one word, to 64,000. Text Daily Beans to 64,000. One more time, text Daily Beans to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. As you all probably know by now, I'll be speaking at the No Kings 2 rally in San Diego on October 18th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're expecting massive crowds. Last time for No Kings this summer, we had about 75,000, 80,000, and that's a conservative estimate. I imagine that the number might have been higher. But joining me today to talk about No Kings 2 is the co-executive director of Indivisible. Please welcome Leah Greenberg. Hi, Leah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Great to be here.
It's great to see you. I imagine you're kind of busy.
The last week before mobilization is always a little bit crazy, and this one is no exception. That is absolutely right.
Yeah. And are you expecting a bigger turnout? Just looking at the map at nokings.org, it's huge. I think we are clearly expecting more people than No Kings 1.
Well, look, I never want to promise a specific crowd number in advance. I'm superstitious. But what I can say, because we actually have this metrically already accounted for, is the first No Kings had around 2,100 events around the country. There are 2,500 events on the map now. So we are literally already at the single most widespread protest in American history before a single person shows up on Saturday.
Oh my gosh. I think it's going to be outstanding. And there's so many things I love about it. First of all, I think it's a great motivator to move forward and organize. And I think we saw that this past summer with No Kings 1. And I like the idea of every few months, maybe, we'll see another one in the spring or something like that as we lead up to the 2026 midterms. Is that kind of the bigger picture here of the idea of No Kings?
Well, I think we want to continue to see how each one goes, see what feedback we get. But we do think that there's a really important role for a continued role, like regular mass mobilization that brings together millions of people across the country. We are in this period where a would-be fascist is trying to close civic space, is trying to consolidate power. And so a regular, large-scale, everywhere in the country demonstration of defiance is a really important part of combating that, of holding open that civic space. And so I can't commit to a date, but what I can say is that we certainly see this as an important part of the toolkit for the future.
Right, like stepping stones. And what are your thoughts on Republicans large now going on to cable news networks, which are also owned by oligarchs, saying that No Kings, they're trying to tie it to the shutdown and saying that it's an anti-American rally. And that blows my mind because I think it's foundational of American values. What are your thoughts on those talking points?
Well, I mean, I think it's telling that you see Mike Johnson and all these other folks out there trying really hard to not actually say the name of the rally. They say, oh, it's a Hate America rally because they are afraid to say out loud the word No Kings because that kind of exposes the entire lie, right? So they don't want to actually tell you what it's about. They want to just kind of make something up in their own minds and oppose that. That's the first thing. The second thing, I think, is this shows exactly how much Republicans are flailing and panicking at this point in the shutdown fight. They know that the country is blaming them. They know that people want answers for why their healthcare prices are rising. They know that people are fed up with Trump's lawlessness and chaos. and they don't have a plan for getting out of this. And so they've kind of desperately fastened on to something they can talk about, which happens to be no kings. The third thing, though, that I will say is that I think we've got to understand this as both ridiculous and also sinister in the bigger picture, because fundamentally what we know is this administration is trying to enact its authoritarian playbook across all facets of society, and civil society is no exception. Since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, it's been really clear that they're going to roll out a pretty aggressive agenda of repression targeting civil society, organized opposition, peaceful dissent. And so these smears by Republicans are absolutely silly. And also they are part of creating the permission structure for Stephen Miller to weaponize the federal government to go after his perceived adversaries.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the history of no kings, because, as you bring up, this has been going on since the original no kings, revolution in the 1700s,
Right.
the Declaration of Independence, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen it as recently as the George Floyd protests, when Bill Barr and the first Trump administration was labeling these protests as and people who participated in them in certain cities as anarchic jurisdictions. And now this declaration that Antifa, which is not an actual organization, is somehow being funded. And we're all being paid to show up, by the way, on Saturday. I don't know if you knew that. We're all being paid.
It's very expensive. Very expensive.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys can possibly afford that.
Yeah.
But there's a long history in this country of protesting exactly this kind of authoritarian regime. And you and your co-founder, Ezra Levin, have been, doing this for quite a while. You were featured as one of Time's 100 most influential people in 2019, GQ's 50 most powerful people in Trump's Washington, number 2 on the Politico top 50 list of top thinkers, doers, and visionaries. And so this has been going on for a while. Talk a little bit about how No King's Day started and the history of protesting, the history of organizing peaceful protests to air our grievances.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with Indivisible, because we got started shortly after Trump was elected in 2016. My husband and I were former congressional staffers. We had seen the Tea Party in operation on Capitol Hill when we worked there during the early Obama years. In 2016 and early 2017, as everyone was kind of running around trying to figure out what to do, we were like, we've got some lessons. We saw something that worked. We need to organize locally. We need to focus on our elected officials, and we can push back against Trump. And so we took all those lessons, put them in a guide on the internet called Indivisible. And, we thought our friends and family would read it maybe. But to our shock, thousands of people read it. And then they started organizing local Indivisible groups dedicated to putting that guide into action, and then also dedicated to so much more, from elections to advocacy to protest to community service all over the country. And so we've been organizing collectively with them, to fight back for the Affordable Care Act, to build the margins in the blue wave in 2018, to get Trump out in 2020, to try to pass structural democracy reform under the Biden years, and to try to stop Trump from coming back into office in 2024. So when Trump was elected, we understood that this was going to be a moment when a lot of new people might potentially come in looking for answers, looking for ways to get organized. And we tried to create the space and the structure and the invitation for people to continue to do that with Indivisible and starting new Indivisible groups. And we've seen almost about 120% increase in new groups around the country since 2024. People are flooding in, I will tell you that. Now, No Kings is an organic slogan. It came out of the 50-51 movement, which started doing protests in January. The original idea was 50 states, 50 capitals, one protest. They did a No Kings on President's Day protest in February. I joined their DC one. And, it was such an extraordinarily powerful slogan. It summed up something so central to what it is to be American. And it tapped into the history that we all feel in this country about, our pride in our democracy, our pride in our representation, the fact that we don't want to be governed by an imperious, unaccountable force. And so we really felt like this was something that needed to continue to be kind of fostered and developed as a core theme of what it means to push back against Donald Trump. And so when we heard about the fact that Donald Trump was planning a military parade for June 14th for his birthday, ostensibly for the Army's birthday, but we were all pretty clear it was really for his birthday, that felt like a really important inflection point. It felt like the kind of moment where either Donald Trump does this big show of force and, really cements this sense of his own power and his own centrality, or big, bold, popular opposition all over the country pushes back and tells a different story. And so that was the idea behind No Kings. And we worked with a huge coalition of folks, like folks in labor, veterans groups, civil rights, faith communities, folks like 5051, everybody that we could, to try to collectively bring together the biggest tent possible to say, no, this is not who we are. This is not what we stand for. We can collectively stand against authoritarianism, against corruption, against attacks on our neighbors and attacks on our democracy. And we can stand here together and really celebrate what America should be, and that it is more and better than Donald Trump. That was the core idea. And what we saw was a lot of people around the country really responded to that and were ready to answer that call.
Yeah. And it felt like lessons learned from Occupy Wall Street were brought forward, best practices and what to avoid. And then talk a little bit about the debriefing of the first No Kings, June 14th, that you were talking about there. Like, what were the lessons learned there that you brought forward to No Kings 2?
Yeah. Well, the first is, we're operating, I think it's just worth saying this out loud, we're operating on a pretty unprecedented scale in terms of widespread protests. So just to give you like a little bit of a sense of comparison, the single largest mass day of national action in the first Trump term were the Families Belong Together protests in 2018. These were protesting family separation. There were about 750 of those. In this year, we've seen 1,300 events all over the country for Hands Off, 2,100 for No Kings in June, 2,500 at this upcoming Saturday. So what we're seeing is just the opposition is everywhere. And it requires a totally different level of organizing and support, which is great and also really intense, right? Because this is, we're quite literally operating at a scale that we have never seen before. That's one. I think another is really just intentionally leaning in to creating spaces that are welcoming and inclusive and rooted in kind of an inclusive American values and patriotism and a sense of what we believe this country can be, but inviting really everybody in, right? Because, this is a moment in which if we are serious about building a popular movement for democracy, we're going to work across ideological lines. We're going to work with people that we don't always agree with, to our left and to our right. And that is good. That is actually an important part of how we collectively build the big tent for democracy. So that's a second one. Let's see. Third, third is, I just think this is so core. So much of this depends on the local leadership, the creativity, the passion, and the dedication of regular people, right? This is not like we have a staffer putting together every event. This is actually an enormous number of people who have decided to spend their free time organizing to fight for our democracy, to fight for our rights, to fight for our neighbors. And they also have a lot of wisdom about what they need to do wherever they are, right? Putting on one of these events in Montana looks different than doing it in Tennessee, looks different than doing it in Rhode Island. We got to work with, the really broad swath of folks across the country to make sure that they've got what they need.
Yeah, because it's not left versus right. It's top versus bottom. It's the king versus us. And so you have to, by nature, it expands. Right. And, I always bring up this example, but Professor Jelani Cobb talked about the Fugitive Slave Act, and he teaches his students about the Fugitive Slave Act. And that, in the moments leading up to the Civil War, people were very against the Fugitive Slave Act because the police were coming in and snatching people out, their neighbors. They were taking their neighbors away. And his students are always like, oh, so the abolitionists were against it. And he's like, no, everybody was against it. Everybody, because the fundamental civic unit is neighbor, and they were all mad. And so, when we see people kind of infighting between progressives and liberals and Democrats and centrists and moderates and even Republicans or never Trumpers, it's like billionaires don't care about those differences. They drive wedges in between those groups of people. They help create the divide there so that we're fighting with each other instead of fighting them. And I think that that's what's so fundamental about the No Kings movement. It's because the focal point here is the king. Like that's what we're all against and not each other. And so I know we have like at least a dozen, maybe a couple of dozen coalition groups that are helping organize this here in San Diego, like you said, from unions, teachers unions, electrical worker unions, all the unions. We've got the Democratic clubs. We've got 5051. We've got Indivisible. We've got Troubled Nation. We've got like a million different coalitions coming together. And it's fantastic to see.
Love it.
And that there's something for all of us to agree on, I think is what moves us forward. So along those lines, we got a couple minutes left, but what are the goals of not just No Kings 2, but the No Kings movement in general? What are some of the goals?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's a few things. The first is in a period when an authoritarian is trying to consolidate, the act of having this kind of mass national protest is about holding open civic space for everything else that needs to happen. It's about introducing into the minds of everyone who's making a decision, wherever they are in this country, about whether to go along with Trump or whether to push back, introducing into their minds the possibility that Donald Trump is not inevitable, that he is not going to inevitably consolidate control, that actually there's a massive growing backlash and we are going to win, right? So we want to first kind of create that narrative of there is a growing popular opposition and you need to worry not just about what Donald Trump might do, but you actually need to worry about us too. That's one. The second is really moving people into a posture of collective defiance and to be part of a movement. The way that we are going to do this, it's not just about protest. Protest is great. It is important. It is a tactic in a broader strategy. The strategy is about fostering collective defiance. And that involves 1,000 things. It involves, organizing your local PTA to push back in case ICE is coming to your school. It involves asking your minister, hey, why aren't you speaking out against what's happening in this country right now? I'd like to see you do that. It involves speaking up in your workplace and saying, hey, I think we need to do X and not Y. Or if you're a federal employee, saying, I'm not going to do that. It's illegal. It's going to involve like an enormous number, or if you're a consumer, not buying Target or not buying some company that is enabling these things, right? It's going to involve all of us figuring out how we leverage our power in 100 fronts across our lives to stop this consolidation of power and to fight for an inclusive democracy. In order to do that, we all have to feel like we are part of a movement. We have to feel like our individual actions ladder up to something that is bigger than ourselves. That is part of what being together on a No Kings event can help us do, is understand ourselves as part of something that is big and powerful and capable of much more than we are individually. And then the third is we really want to get people into local organizing homes. This is a chance to bring people into ongoing relationship. If you show up for a protest, we want to make sure that you are still involved, that you are actually continuing to take action, that you are in touch with people IRL and building those relationships, whether that is advocacy, whether that is protest, whether that is electoral work. We need to get people off of our screens, for lack of a better term, and into real relationship and into real organizing, because we are going to need more people, and we need more people who are connected.
Yeah, and there's so many opportunities. I know I ran into a bunch of people at No Kings 1, and we decided to put together a group of like postcard writing and text banking stuff, like just stuff as simple as that, networking, right? For IRL in real life.
IRL.
Stuff on the ground.
And we've seen so many new Indivisible groups form because someone raised their hand and said, okay, yeah, I can have a protest. I'll put this together in my town. And then, they got 50 people and those folks wanted to get together again. It can be a nucleus of a lot of really important activity and formation.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's really incredible, the coalition that not only you guys, but everybody who's involved, all the groups that are involved have been able to put together. My last question for you is, I know I've had a lot of people reach out about differently abled and disabled folks who want to join No Kings. I know there's a lot of stuff on Mobilize.us about attending virtually. There's all kinds of events that way. If you're in your town, there's not a virtual event, you can create one and make it yourself. I mean, this is a movement by the people. So talk a little bit about, kind of that sort of inclusivity as we're piggybacking on getting involved in real life, about how maybe differently abled and disabled folks can join in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll have a national live stream as well. So it'll be most like the DC protest, but also cutting in some footage from different places across the country. So you're able to kind of follow along wherever you are. I do know that there are a number of different folks who set up virtual rallies. We also are we're going to continue to keep this going with actions that we ask people to take that can be both in person and can be digital, right? Like we know that there's really powerful digital stuff that people can do. We've all seen the power of all of us canceling our Disney subscriptions at the same time, for example. And so we're actually looking at how do we help people with those actions that really range across the spectrum from showing up to taking an action online.
Yeah, awesome. Tell everyone how they can get involved, help, and find the No Kings near them or start their own.
Go to nokings.org. You can find your local event. You can sign up for more information. You can RSVP to get updates as the day approaches, and we will see you there.
Yeah, I'll be there. We'll all be there one way or another, right? So thank you so much, Co-Executive Director of Indivisible, Leah Greenberg. I appreciate your time today. Everybody stick around. We'll be right back with the good news. Everybody, welcome back. It's time for the good news.
Good news, everyone. Then good news, everyone.
Good news, good news. And if you have any little bit of good news, we would love to hear from you, no matter how small, no matter how big, and no matter how recent. Send your good news stories to us. You can also send a shout out to a loved one, maybe your spouse, a partner, a kid, maybe a neighbor, or some great community organizers. A self shout out. We love those. Shout outs to government programs that have helped you or a loved one are always great. Maybe you could, tell us about a nonprofit that's doing some great work, or maybe a small business in your area that could use a boost. We would love to hear from you. You can send it all to us at dailybeanspod.com and click on contact. And all you got to do to get your stuff read on the air is pay your pod pet tariff, which means really just attach a photo. It can be anything for reals. Just grab a random animal off the internet, or you can attach your pod pet and we'll see if we can guess the breeds in your shelter pup maybe, or an adoptable pet in your area works too. We also like bird watching photos, which can be an actual bird, or you flipping the bird to Trump buildings. Those are fun. Everyone's got one in their phone. I know I've got
many.
several. I have many. You could send that to us. A random, like I said, random animal from the internet, family pictures, awkward family photos, anything at all. Your happy place, garden. What are you growing? What are you knitting, crocheting, quilting, making, painting, anything? Send it to us. dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. First up is your good trouble. And your good trouble is for everyone in Clay Higgins' district. First of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, he's hosting a tele-town hall on October 16th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Call in if you live there. And we're going to have a link to the live stream in the episode notes. You can call in October 16th, 6 p.m. Central Time, 833-380-0680 to talk to Clay Higgins at his tele-town hall. Maybe it's easier to run away from a tele-town hall.
Or screen the calls. So, just be creative, people.
Yeah, so love it. So that's your good trouble. Thank you so much, everybody.
Love it. All right, this is from Jen, pronouns she and her. Hello, lovelies. I'm so grateful for your pod and the community you've created. My godchild has been involved with the Girl Scouts for years. They recently came out as trans and inspired several other members of the troop to feel safe to come out as pan or bi. Amazing. Their mom and aunt are phenomenal leaders who work tirelessly to create safe spaces for all these kiddos. I'm so flippin' proud of them. My tax is a bird watching pic I snapped this summer while visiting Chicago. It made me so happy to take this pic.
Nice. There
it's
it is.
a good
Look
one.
Beautiful river. I love that.
If you're in Chicago, and I will say this, I think it's one of the most beautiful skylines in the United States, minus that one building.
Minus that one building, which kills a lot of fish, by the way.
It does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, they've been fined for misusing the water.
Yeah, because they scoop the water up into the bottom of the building for cooling.
Mm-hmm.
And then spit it out, and it kills a bunch of stuff in the river. Anyway, thank you so much, Jen. Thank you for that. I love the Girl Scouts. It's such a great organization. That's why I always support them by buying, just a box or two of cookies when it's cookie time.
Oh, yeah.
It's more like 30 boxes, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm supporting the Girl Scouts. Next up from Holly, pronouns she and her. Cheers, my beautiful caffeinated ladies. Shout out to me. Over my adult years, the creative drive in me has expressed itself in several ways. Counted cross-stitch designer for an East Coast company, and as an independent, always a wildlife artist, a store owner. Yes, much creativity needed for owning a store. And author, and producing products with my drawings etched in wood. None of these endeavors have earned me much money, but were a satisfying outlet at the time. For 5 years, I spent my time working my day job and creating on the side. Extending myself out to people was not what I allowed time for nor sought. I needed to focus on building my life as a widow, as my hubby cheering squad was gone. A friend suggested I jury for an artist studio tour where the public would come to me. The first words out of my mouth were, "No, I'm not ready." I waited until the last day to submit my work before jurying closed. I didn't believe my work was good enough to be accepted by this group of incredible artists in so many diverse genres, and to my surprise, my work was accepted immediately.
Amazing.
The event is over, and I couldn't be happier that my little world is cracking open. People loved my art. The feeling is incredible, and it bolsters my belief that connection with people is the key to getting through the dark times. Amen, Holly. My art was enthusiastically accepted, and I made more sales than I imagined and have some special orders. Shout out to me.
Nice.
For my pod pet tax, I'm sharing my Misha kitty being a quality control expert for some shelves I built in my bathroom. Those are great shelves too. Look at
Oh
that
my gosh,
sweet
look at these
kitty.
drawings.
Oh, why did you think, what? You're, okay. This is like
I know.
New Yorker magazine level town. Look at this.
So good.
And in wood, no less. These are incredible. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. I love that feeling too, right? That, oh goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. This is from Melissa, pronouns she and her. I wish I could write with good news, but I have a friend who works for a Minnesota county who today told me that new SNAP applications are not being approved during the government shutdown. And because of the shutdown, November benefits will not be paid for SNAP or MFIP as the funding has not been approved. This is going to be devastating to those who depend on those benefits. Call your legislators and let them know how unhappy you are. Even if you think it will fall on deaf ears like mine will, just please call. Pod Pet Tariff is my new puppy, Maple. I'll let you guess the breed. Oh my God. The
This
ears
dog.
and head tilt should give it away. I call Maple Nut because she's very typical for her breed. Super nutty. She brings us many laughs and joy in these ever darkening times. Thank you for all you're doing to keep us sane daily.
That is a border collie.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
this.
And super
I know
cute.
this. Wasn't the dog in Down and Out in Beverly Hills a border collie?
That's not one that I would be able to say yes, Allison, or no, Allison.
Everyone knows, Dana. Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Nick Nolte, 1984.
You remember that dog?
Come on.
Yep. Remember that dog in the scene on the 14th minute of the movie that was there for
It
about
might
3
have been
seconds?
86 or 87. Anyway, Richard Dreyfuss. No, you know what? I'm going to go watch that movie tonight and I'll let you know. But look at this beautiful baby. Yep, border collie. There it is. All right, next up from Kelly T, pronouns she and her. DG and AG, your badassery inspires me every day, and I can't possibly thank you enough for lighting my resistance fires. You have promoted my t-shirt business before, and I got a great boost from that. Today, I want to tell you about a project that is good news, maybe even good trouble if others choose to follow suit. I asked my dad several years ago to build me a structure using a little free library as a model. He finished it for me, but he sadly passed away 2 months later. I call this the People's Post, a Creative Commons project. Inside, I have banned books library, both adults and kids, an art make and take, voting democracy, coloring books, affirmations, crayons, and bookmarks, and resource cards, know your rights, pocket constitutions, crisis line cards, etc. I hope to add some branches around in the spring, and I really hope it becomes a positive place for folks to go for art and information. As a lifelong teacher and union rep, oh, bless you, Kelly T, for both of those jobs, I hope it honors my dad's legacy. I can guarantee you, Kelly, that it does. I thought it would encourage others to reimagine their libraries too. thank you again for everything. I hope you both come up to Minnesota sometime. Hey, Dana. Dana, hey. Hey, Dana.
Yep.
Come up to Minnesota sometime.
Maybe this weekend.
Maybe right now. For Pod Bet Tax, please see my hairstylist's pocket pity, Tyrion. I think you can see that he suffers from one brain cell syndrome. Okay, so I love this. It's a little library, but it's got banned books and art, make and take art, coloring books, crayons, bookmarks, and resource cards. That's so cool and creative.
That is awesome.
Look at the tiny puppy.
Oh my God.
And I think that dog is in a salon.
Oh my God, it's really cute. That is like a beefy puppy dog.
Sweet baby. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Kelly T. I appreciate you.
All right. I believe this is closing us out for today. I know. It's so good. This is Jill R. No pronouns given. Greetings, dear queens of the legume. I've been listening since the kitchen table days, and the only way to get the news these days is with swearing. My good news starts with a devastating diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer in July. I've got a good team, and it's responding to treatment, so don't worry about me. But with all the chemotherapy, I've been worried about attending the No Kings rally this Saturday because of the crowds. But luckily, my cousin in Chicago had a plan. She sent me my own personal peacock-shaped bubble.
Oh my God.
Pod Pet Tariff is my little schnoodle Manny celebrating this past 4th of July. First of all, Jill, I am sending you all the love and health and healing with this chemotherapy and your journey ahead. We are all rooting for you here at the Beans. If you still go to the No Kings, be very careful. But this peacock, this is such a brilliant idea to keep you away from the germs of the crowd. It truly is.
I know, because it's also like, exactly. The air going through it, right?
Yep. And your dog is ridiculous.
So positive pressure in that costume, and positive pressure against the king.
Yeah.
This dog, I can't even. Look at this guy.
I know, he's so cute.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, thank you so much for that, Jill. And thanks to all of you for sending in your good news. Send it to us, please. Overwhelm us with your good news. I want so much good news. We don't even know what to do with it all. All the good news, send it to us. dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. If you want to become a patron and get these episodes ad-free and early, you can do that by going to patreon.com/thedailybeans. And we have some very, very cool news for you tomorrow. So you are definitely going to want to listen to tomorrow's show. Do you have any last words, my friend?
I do.
Last words?
I do have not last thoughts, just last words. Yes, I would like to thank my mom and Allison for giving me this opportunity. I have a big announcement tomorrow. It's going to be on my Instagram. So if you don't follow me there, DG Comedy. And a lot of you, I'm just going to tease this. Some of you help make it happen. So please just go hang out on my Instagram. And then when you see my announcement, maybe you want to comment, share it, help the algorithm. I can't tell you because the information's embargoed until tomorrow. Otherwise, I would tell all of you right now. So I'm excited.
And you got to learn a business term.
Embargoed.
In our business. Embargoed. That's when someone sends you something and says you can't tell anyone until this time on this day. And you have to sit there and be like, okay, I'm not going to say anything.
I've been sitting on it, that's for sure.
I remember I got a Roger Stone Department of Justice subpoena.
Stop.
From a major news outlet. Because this is a little more behind the curtain, but a lot of major news outlets send me stuff and are like, what are the headlines? What is the implication? What does this mean? And I'll tell them, and then they run the headline, and then they don't give me any money or credit. But I get to see stuff way ahead of time that other people don't get to see. And so I was sitting on this Roger Stone subpoena from the Department of Justice, and it had all the crimes and everything listed on it. And I was like, I can't tell anyone. But I'm still very trustworthy. If you're listening and you want to send me something that's embargoed, I can handle it. I can do it.
Yes.
All right, everybody. We'll be back in your ears tomorrow. And again, you do not want to miss this. You're going to want to tune in tomorrow, and you're going to want to hang out at DG Comedy on Instagram. We'll see you then. Until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and take care of your family. I've been AG.
I've been DG.
And them's the beans.
The Daily Beans is written and executive produced by Allison Gill with additional research and reporting by Dana Goldberg. Sound design and editing is by Desiree McFarlane. with art and web design by Joel Reeder with Moxie Design Studios. Music for The Daily Beans is written and performed by They Might Be Giants, and the show is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, please visit mswmedia.com.
MSW Media.